This is the Swarm and Shoot football show with me, Manny Matsakis, as we kick off Season 2. We've been fortunate because we've had a few good interviews. We bring Lynn Grohl on here, and he's able to interview some of our players. And we've got a lot coming up in this upcoming season. And this Swarm and Shoot football show is brought to you by Big B Coffee, which I've got right here. And it's right across campus here on North Clinton Street. Get the finest coffee beverages in Defiance, as well as great pastries and breakfast sandwiches to start off your day. And for most of us, we also get a pick-me-up in the afternoon by heading across the street to see Sue and everybody over at Big B Coffee. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, BSN Sports. Rob Held, Jim Garris, and the crew over here, the sales team, are the professionals that you definitely need to get in touch with to get your gear. All the DC gear. If you're a high school program out there listening to this, get in touch with these guys and they will help you out. They do a fantastic job with high schools, colleges, businesses in the area. Can get whatever type of apparel they need customized just for their business. So I know Rob does a great job for us. Jim is our rep that I see virtually every week of the year, and it's outstanding customer service. Welcome to the show. I'm here with Coach Tristan Yeomans, and we're going to visit a little bit about his new role that he has moved over from coaching receivers a year ago. Did a fantastic job recruiting down in the South, and we'll touch into that a little bit as well. But now he's coaching special teams and our defensive line. How's that going, Coach?
It's going great. It's definitely a different transition moving from the skinny guys to the bigger guys. But, I mean, I love it. I think I have learned in just a short career that if you control the line of scrimmage, you got a chance to win the football game. So it's fun kind of being behind all that, and I'm learning a lot for sure.
Now, when you first got that opportunity, we made the switch and said, hey, let's just get over here because Dr. Taylor, Jeremy Taylor, became a dean. Right, and he could not actually be with us for all the practices anymore. So we had a couple opportunities, and we had a graduate assistant also opening up, and we brought Emily in to help us out there on the offensive side of the ball. And then it just kept, I kept thinking about, you emphasize so much in the kicking game with special teams, your background in that, and now you're sitting here with the defensive line, and I always like, if you can have a guy, if he's going to coach a position and do special teams, it'd be more on the defensive side because you are in all the personnel meetings. You understand a lot of the guys that play in the kicking game are on defense. Have you noticed, are you getting a better feel for that side of the ball as you take that role on?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like you said, it goes hand in hand, special teams and defense. Punt team obviously is the biggest, one of our big emphasis, and I like to say it's the first play of defense. Let's get them in a position to where they can, make a stop or we pin them so that, when they punt back to us, we give good offensive field position. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Our guys are starting to understand that a little bit, and that's going to be big moving forward. But you're right, a lot of personnel, a lot of guys are on the defensive side of the ball that are on punt team, punt return, kickoff return, stuff like that. So, and we got a few, we'll have a few receivers and running backs and stuff like that. But for the most part, yeah, it's been great just to get to know those guys and to see them handle it and say, you know what, I want to be a starter on everything, defense and special teams. So if that's important to them, then we're going to have a bright future in the kicking game.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I know right now we're in our practices, you're working all the units, and when you look at that, you said, punt team is the most important unit, and I totally get that. What are some things that you are looking for when you're looking, this guy can be a great special teams player for us? Those guys that can play all four of the big four, punt return, kickoff return, those big four units. What are you looking for? We talk defensive mentality, but what's it take? I mean,
well, it's hard to be a special team star, unless you're a Devin Hester that's a returner. But those guys are a dime a dozen, obviously. Yeah. It's just putting forth a lot of effort, understanding why we do certain things and why it's important for our team. I've I've been in places in the past, where I've played, and even in high school, you don't put as much emphasis on it, and it ends up getting you beat. But your players don't understand it. So whenever they start to get that understanding of, hey, if I put forth effort, I can set forth an example here, and we can do some good things, because it is a third of the football game, in my opinion. And it is very, very key to get those guys just to understand why it's important. You can tell them all day long, like, hey, you have to do this, but until they understand it and actually have a want and a will to do it, you're only going to go so far.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, and there's a lot of specialization in the kicking game without question. So when you look at that, and now when you're analyzing your defensive linemen, because we've got some, albeit there's some young guys in there, but some a couple more mature guys that have paid their dues, that we're expecting some big things out of, coming up. Mm-hmm. How do you look at your defensive line unit as you get into a practice, and what are you trying to get out of those guys in fall ball, so to speak, right now?
The biggest thing is understanding where they're supposed to be. Like I said, with COVID and everything, it's been tough to really get and meet with these guys. I sit there and tell them where they're supposed to be, but they don't necessarily understand why they're supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. But once we start meeting with them and they see why, big it is gap assignment with our defense. We have got to just stay in our gaps and stop the run. That's the biggest thing, is who can stop the run first. So that's our biggest job. You control the ground game, we'll control the football game for sure. So that's something I'm really trying to instill in these guys, and just being physical at the point of attack. Don't get struck by the offensive lineman, you strike him. That's huge.
Yeah.
Huge is striking first, yes.
No question, yeah. So looks like we're making progress. How many guys you have in your D-line, even though it's not the room anymore? How many guys?
We've got around like 15, 16 guys every day that practice. So, we've got 4 groups, 3 good groups, and then, a 4th group, just depending on if we have a few guys out with injuries or mm-hmm. something like that. But it's good. It's definitely good to have that depth and roll those guys in.
Yeah. No, I love it, and I like that we're in helmets and shoulder pads, and we got our first, we had a scrimmage last weekend, and the guys will just keep making progress for us.
Yep.
Now, speaking of the guys, last year was your first year here, and the first time you've ever recruited for college football, mm-hmm. And you did a bang-up job for us there. I mean, you went down south, you got how many players did you end up signing last year?
It was around 18, I think. I think maybe 15 or so are still on campus.
Yeah.
So
as you got in, and obviously Coach Shank took you under his wing, and I hear you in the office, sort of, talking that and recruiting and all kinds of, mm-hmm. Analytical things that you all visit about,
right?
Horse racing, whatever's coming up.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's all, it's what's the Moneyball, the movie Moneyball.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
That's sort of recruiting is. There's odds on things, and you gotta get a lot of good players in here, and then the ones that the cream will rise to the top, and then we get a championship season here. But when you went down, take us all through the process, because I mean you had never really been, certainly in Defiance, Northwest Ohio,
right.
And now you're going to go sell this football program to young men in the Southeast. Tell us how what your plan was. And then where you went, and just sort of how it all materialized that you were able to get so many new players for us.
Well, the biggest thing, and I do give a lot of credit to Coach Shank. I mean, I followed his step every step of the way, and he did a great job himself. So I kind of took that as this is somebody I need to learn from. So I was in there every day, like you said, and just. We don't have any scholarships to give these guys, and that was one of the biggest things he taught me, was just be personable. Be somebody they can relate to, they can trust, because when you go down Recruit South, they're moving 1,000 miles from home, So that's a long way. There's a lot of colleges in between that are recruiting them. There's a lot of good football players. One thing I do like about the South is I know a lot of those coaches, and I know how those kids are coached. So when I get them, I know that how I can be with them personally. Mm-hmm. So that we can develop them here. So it's selling them is obviously it's not easy with no scholarships or anything, mm-hmm. but it's fun. You have to cast a large net, but even in that net, you have to be selective, if that makes sense. Get a lot of people to come, and then you kind of this kid's got. His film looks really great, or he's got really good size, or he's got this. There's certain things that make each guy stand out. But when you're down there recruiting, Coach Shank. I remember when we went a couple weeks to Atlanta. He don't play around now. He don't give you any time off. So he'll list you out 9 schools you got to hit in Atlanta. So you're up at the crack of dawn, and I mean driving at 6 a.m.
yeah.
We're on the road. So you hit a lot of those schools, and it's pretty repetitive. Honestly, it's almost the same message each time, but. Some kids will respond a lot more than others will, which is when the conversations go good. And I think, honestly, that's what starts it. Especially in Atlanta, there's a lot more schools in Atlanta than there are in South Georgia. But whenever you go to these different schools, some kids, you can tell they're more interested in others. Well, that's my net. I might be talking to 6 guys, but then those couple that are interested, well, there's my 2 right there. And then in the South, it was really – I got to do a lot of home visits in the South. The time I was there, the schools weren't back open, which was great. I got to go and talk with their parents, talk with the kids, kind of get to actually know them a lot. And just great people. Down South, they're going to invite you in, have some lemonade, have some food. So it was great. It was great being back home.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I know we do well in the South. Georgia, Florida become really big areas for us, and and I'm excited with looking at these guys right now in fall ball and finally seeing them move around and doing the things that we want them to do. I think we did a fantastic job with this past recruiting class, and that you're a big part of that. And I just wanted our fans out there to get to know what it is you're doing. And give us this opportunity to take a next step forward. We know we've got, we'll keep going. We got, this week and then 2 more weeks after that. And I think, November 21st on that Saturday, we're going to have our fall game, which is intra-squad scrimmage. It'll be neat to see these guys compete. And I'm just excited about the direction that it's going this fall. And we should be in pretty good shape with that. What do you being a former Kentucky Wildcat, you look at their deal in the SEC right now. It is a war zone. Now, this weekend, they don't play. I mean, they're off this weekend. What have you noticed when you get the chance to watch those guys right now?
Well, I noticed they were in a much-needed bye week. I mean, they had a lot of injuries, and when you go through a grueling schedule like that, it's just each week you're getting beat up. So it's much needed for them. I mean, I think they have a lot of young talent still. Their quarterback situation, they're trying to find out who's the guy still, which they'll get it right. They'll rely heavy on that run game, which is great. Got a great offensive line, 3 good running backs there, so. And then the defense has always been the backbone. Obviously, special teams, you still got the reigning Ray Guy Award winner, so he helps their defense out a lot.
Yeah, he does. Game. And their defense, like, holy smokes, they played last week before a week ago they played Georgia, and it was like 7-3 for the longest time, and ended up being a 14-3 game. But I'll tell you what. Those Kentucky Wildcats in that defense, they don't back down anybody.
They play tough.
Yeah,
they play tough.
They really do. And, considering there's no fans in any of the, very few fans in those stadiums, just family pretty much. It's, that home field advantage that you might get playing down at Commonwealth Stadium would be considerably different had they had that. But, they had a couple other games that they should have won early. Mm-hmm. Now they are healing this weekend, and they come back, and I think they've got the Crimson Tide here pretty soon. Pretty soon.
So they make that trip to Tuscaloosa, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so that'll be good. I think they got Vanderbilt and those guys.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's good. And the good thing right now is from what I heard the other day from my brother, he said if they win 4 games, if they go literally 4-6. I mean, that will tie the most wins versus SEC teams in a long time, Right, so, I mean, that's like, people don't realize how tough that league is. That's why they have set up, at least at the FBS level, that you don't have to have a winning season to go to a bowl game this year.
Right.
Because, I mean, shoot, look who these guys are playing, right?
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's fun. And I hear who's the Pac-12's getting started this weekend. So,
I think so.
Yeah. So finally, everybody at the Division I level looks like most of them are going, and then when they're done, they'll pull the curtain open, and we'll step right through next February.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Thanks, everybody out there, and appreciate you joining the Swarm and Shoot Football Show. I want to thank you for joining us on the Swarm and Shoot Football Show. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure to subscribe in iTunes. Give us a rating, comment on the show. If you'd like to get all kinds of updates, go to our website at swarmandshoot.com, where you will be up to date on all of our podcasts with audio and YouTube versions on there as well. All right. See feature articles on our current players and alumni, along with updates of what's going on in the program. Take a minute and subscribe with your email to receive these regular alerts every time we update the website.